This episode of the Golf Unfiltered podcast is brought to you by WorldwideGolfShops.com. Be sure to go out to WorldwideGolfShops.com for all of your equipment, apparel, and accessory needs. They've even got training aids. They've got all the great stuff from all the brands that you hear on our podcast every week. So once again, that is WorldwideGolfShops.com.
You're listening to the Golf Unfiltered podcast, your source for in-depth interviews with the biggest names, brands, and personalities in golf. Our mission? To keep you informed and help you enjoy the game even more. And now, the owner and host of the Golf Unfiltered podcast, Adam Fonseca.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Golf Unfiltered podcast. I am your host, as always, Adam from GolfUnfiltered.com. Hello to our friends over at the Hackers Paradise. This podcast could not be possible without them, as well as our friends over at Cleveland and Srixon Golf. You guys know I'm playing their equipment throughout the 2020 season. You could find us all over social media at Golf Unfiltered, and you can send us an email, and many of you do, to golfunfiltered@gmail.com. Folks, today we welcome a first-time guest to the show, Mr. John Mason from SwingJuice.com. He is the owner, he is the president, he is the creator of all of their great designs on their t-shirts, their accessories, their hats, sweatshirts. They got a lot of great stuff going on. And so John and I talk a lot about the origins of Swing Juice. We talk about what got him interested in golf apparel, or at least in this instance, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and the like. And we discuss a little bit about the challenges he's faced since starting the company, as well as what he is experiencing now that is a few years old. So if you are interested in startups, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, and if you just like good, fun golf apparel, you're going to love this conversation with John Mason from Swing Juice.
I know you love the game, even though it drives every single one of us crazy. Hi, this is Bill Hobson, and I host the Four Golfers Network podcast, where we celebrate golf in every way imaginable. You'll hear interviews with the biggest names in the sport, travel features, special contests, and we even take your calls. So after you listen to Adam and Golf Unfiltered, give us a try. Subscribe to the Four Golfers Network podcast, that's F-O-R-E, on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and everywhere else podcasts are found.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, we are joined tonight by Mr. John Mason of SwingJuice.com. John, thanks so much for hopping on the call today to talk to us and our listeners.
No problem at all, Adam. Thank you so much for having me. You know, it's funny, you and I have been connected through social media for a number of years now, so it's great to finally, to speak. So, excited to chat with you tonight.
Likewise, sir. I know that you've got some great stuff going on over at Swing Juice. I've been a fan of your brand and your t-shirts and your apparel for a while. But, before we get into all the new things that are going on with Swing Juice, I got to ask about the name itself. Swing Juice is not a name that automatically implies apparel. What's the story behind the name?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first came up with the name of Swing Juice, the idea behind it was actually a very different product. In fact, it was actually a beverage product. And, I'm going to go back in the time machine back to 2004. And it was a long time ago. Yeah. But, really like yourself, I'm a golf nut, avid golfer. And, during the time when I was really playing quite a bit, this is around the time when, Red Bull and vitamin water and those types of products started, popping up all over the place. Mm-hmm. So I was just intrigued as, somebody who studies marketing and I'm sort of into that thing. Or I'm into that sort of thing. So, immediately I was just thinking about, those products and kind of what they are and how they sort of came out of nowhere seemingly. And honestly, it just popped in my head, let me try to create a golf beverage and just call it Swing Juice, something that will kind of aid your swing, as you're playing a round of golf. So, immediately I started searching just to see if A, somebody had created that product, and B, if it's out there. And I found none of the above were true. So I literally just trademarked the term Swing Juice. So I trademarked the term Swing Juice during that weekend and again, try to do as much research as I could, in a short period of time as to what, the beverage industry was. And then finally I was like, all right, well, what do I do with this thing? So, over over the course of about a year, I just really dove into, the beverage industry and actually how do you formulate a beverage. I mean, I have no chemistry background or beverage formulation background or science background. My background, through college was marketing. So, I over, like I said, over the course of a year, I came up with a formula. I figured out how to do it. So I created an actual beverage, called it Swing Juice, and was able to get a number of cases produced. And over the course of the next 5 to 7 years, I just sort of put a bunch of cases in my trunk and schlepped around all over New England. To the point in 2010 we had about 300 locations that carried the product. So that was a mix of golf courses, and we had a number of local supermarket chains, but we also had Whole Foods in our distribution network as well.
Wow. I mean, well, that's pretty impressive in itself, is to get into a mainstream grocer like that.
Yeah, it was great. To me, it was sort of a testament to what the product was, and which was an all natural beverage, and and at the time, now when I look back, the reason I sort of went away from the beverage industry, it's ultra competitive, and unless you have an extremely strong distribution network and large backing, it's a truly uphill battle. So between the years of like 2010, 11, and 12, I could start to see the writing on the wall as to where the future of the Swing Juice brand in the beverage space was going. But all the while, interestingly enough, that this is when sort of social media started to pop up, and people were connecting more via social media versus face-to-face meetings. So in my mind, I was thinking, all right, well, we have a pretty good amount of people that were following us on, at the time, Facebook, and starting Instagram and starting Twitter as well. So I just sort of in my head said, all right, well, the beverage industry for us really isn't a place to be. We have a community of golfers that are following us through these new social networks. Mm-hmm. So why don't we start to pivot towards making this an e-brand? So I thought, all right, well, what's the best way to do that? And just immediately, sort of how when I first crafted the idea for the beverage, I thought, well, why don't we create some cool golf T-shirts? And when I say we, it was me, because I was having virtually this conversation by myself, at the time. And so I just said, all right, well, let's redo the website. I have this designer I've worked with for years, and let me come up with some fun, cool graphic T-shirts that are A, would be interesting to a golfer. B, let's get a quality of shirt that somebody would want to wear on a frequent basis, high quality shirt, and let's just put it out there and see what happens. So in February of 2014, ironically 10 years after I first came up with the idea of Swing Juice, sort of just made a pivot in the middle of the night, bye beverage, and hello apparel industry, and the response was immediate. Like right away, we started selling T-shirts, and then just slowly has grown from there. And now it's I'm just so happy that our message has been received to the golfing public, and we've grown ever since. And it's just been it's really been a fantastic journey up to this point, and we have a lot of great things happening going forward.
That's such an interesting journey itself, because starting with one industry per se, in the beverage industry, taking that pivot overnight, like you said, into apparel. And you had mentioned that the beverage industry was extremely competitive. I'd have to imagine that the golf apparel or any apparel industry is just as competitive, no?
You know what it is, and what's funny is when I was first thinking about doing T-shirts, like again, it's similar to when I was thinking about the beverage part. I really just did a deep dive into what the golf apparel industry looked like at that time. So 2012, 2013, I started thinking about it, and really towards the middle of 2013 into 2014. I was doing a lot of searching, and I set my mind on T-shirts. I thought that was the lowest barrier to entry because everybody loves T-shirts. That was at least my opinion. Mm-hmm. And what I found, I didn't really find a lot of great golf graphic T-shirts that I liked, at least the ones that were I was thinking of in my head of what I thought would be, fun for a golf consumer. So, I thought at the time, I'm like, well, there's really not a lot of what I'm thinking this could be. So let me put it out there and see if it's well received. If it's not well received, then obviously there's no point in continuing forward. But, right away, the images that, I was putting on these T-shirts was resonating with the golfing public. And, some things that you didn't think would work, like golf and hip hop. I love golf, I love hip hop, and I thought, all right, well, if I put the two things together, there's got to be people out there like myself that either love to play golf with a little music in the background, or just, have no problem walking around and kind of showing two different loves on their sleeves, so to speak.
Sure. So would it be safe to say that you get most of your inspiration or your ideas for T-shirts just from your own interests?
There's definitely a lot of that. Again, I try to also research trends, and not only in the golf industry, but pop culture. And I think trying to be relevant is something that's very important as well. But yes, of course, the basis of a majority of the designs sort of lie into my own general interest, but also a combination of what I am seeing out there, and then now with our team collaboratively seeing out there. But again, it's resonated. So there's more people that like what I like, I guess, than I previously thought.
Well, that's always a good thing too. I mean, it certainly would help with T-shirt sales. It helps with making connection with people on social. And speaking of social, I mean, it's amazing how much social media has grown over the last 4 years. I'd imagine that Swing Juice relies heavily on social media sharing, as well as just spreading the word the old-fashioned way.
Oh, no question about it. I attribute a majority of our growth through our followers and subsequent growth on social media. The main driver for us has been Instagram. We connect obviously you and I connected on Instagram and Twitter.
Right.
But for us, I feel like that's the biggest driver. So when I first started putting the T-shirts, sort of out in the marketplace on Instagram, I think at the time we had something like 1,400 followers. So it's about six years ago. So right now we're close to 50,000 followers. Now we're not Justin Bieber, we're not the Kardashians, but to me that's a pretty good target market growth that we've had, and it's all been organic as well, which has been great. So not only that, but it's also great to connect with new potential golfers and people that really can help spread the word for us and have those conversations. So it's been again, we've always, I think the epicenter of what we've done has been through social media, and I think that will continue forward.
What I really appreciate about Swing Juice is the affordability of the styles and the products that you offer. Was that always a conscious choice to, not necessarily outprice the core demographic that would be interested in your products, or is that something that you hope to continue moving on around that price point?
Absolutely. That was 100% part of the formula that I was thinking. Because again, I was sort of basing it off of what are my likes and what are my tastes. And in my opinion, again, there's a couple of different routes you can go. You can go, the ultra luxury, sort of price yourself to a point where you're only appealing to a certain demographic. And then there's the other route where you can kind of price it down to a point where you just want to move product. But then there's the middle. There's the middle, and I think I always feel like everything settles in the middle. So what I wanted to do was offer something that was A, high quality, B, that was fun in terms of what the graphics relayed and how they were perceived, and then C, have a comfortable price point where somebody will look at this and say, wow, I really like that T-shirt. I love the quality. But you know what? It's actually a good price point that fits within what, something I would consider spending. on an item like this, or provides a value too. So that definitely was part of the formula. And again, I think I've seen, and our team have seen over the years, that the strategy is working, and it's something that will just be a continued part of the formula as we move along here.
So you had mentioned early on that when things first started, at least with swingjuice.com, the apparel company, it was just yourself. You've referenced your team a couple times now. How much have you grown as a team, and as far as the reach that you now have outside of online?
Yeah. So I mean, when I first started, I could count the number of people involved on one hand, mainly one finger. and now I'm using two hands. So it's been tremendous. And again, I think a lot of this has to do with the response out in the golfing world and the golfing public. And I just got back from the PGA show, and what's interesting is the first year that I had the beverage out in the marketplace was around 2007, and I actually went to the PGA show and I exhibited, and I didn't really know what to expect, and it just when I first got there, it was really eye-opening because I'd never really delved into the golf industry before. So it was great to see sort of that that inside look of what the golf industry, especially merchandise. I didn't know I'd actually end up in merchandise, for the most part, but the response was great at the time, and it was really just sort of an introduction. Well, the first time I had been back to the PGA show was last year, and since that time, and this was the first time I had been as an apparel brand. And at that time, it was great. Last year, it was great to reconnect with people I had known over the years, the different connections I'd made throughout the business, and sort of almost like reintroduce myself to say, hey, this is what Swing Juice was, this is what it is now, good to see you again. So when I went back this year, the one thing I was blown away by, I have to be honest with you, is, people either, so when I would reconnect with people, so either it was people I knew that, came up to me and they were like, oh, John, I love Swing Juice. I think what you're doing is great. I see it everywhere. But then there was also a number of people that, didn't know who I was, didn't really know, what Swing Juice was, but they had seen a lot of the product and a lot of the images. They knew what Golf and Tacos was. They knew what Golf and Hip Hop was. They referenced all these designs because A, I was wearing, a T-shirt every day, but, B, I think, again, it's a testament to, the work, that we've done through social and sort of the growth of the brand, and, really excited me knowing that, okay, people are actually viewing this and seeing it, and it's resonating, and they're listening, and they're giving feedback. So, again, it's exciting times, no doubt about it.
And that's got to feel great when people, it's almost like a weird dynamic where people will understand and acknowledge and recognize your products much more readily than you. And I would imagine that's kind of what you want, right? To kind of like fade back a little bit and let your products speak for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. A lot of the work I've done over the years, a lot of times you don't really know how it's being perceived out there. Because you're grinding away and you're in it every single day. So to kind of step out of that and look almost from the outside in, it really it gives you sort of another, energetic, bolt to just keep pushing, and, hopefully it points, that we're headed down the right path.
So what keeps you up at night right now about swingjuice.com? I mean, you've got a ton of different designs out there, and listeners, once again, obviously the website is swingjuice.com, but I'd imagine there's some challenges, some hurdles that you're still looking to overcome.
Of course, there's always something every day that you're attending to, and I think the general work that myself and our team are doing now is figuring out the scalability of it. So it's, A, I think we have a great product. B, we have a great team. And again, in no particular order, great product, great team, great support from a customer standpoint, a great support from a, social media follower standpoint. How can we scale this? and that's sort of, the and again, I'm sure every business goes, through this at some point if they're looking to scale it. And that's something that, it's just constantly trying to fine tune the process, create a process in some instances, but, really fine tune a process so we can get to the point where, all right, we have a good group of people that know us. Now we want to get to a larger group of people that know us. And then also too, I think from my personal perspective, it's, how do we, create new products, not only do more of what we are already, pretty good at, but also offering, something new that we can give, not only our customers have been with us and followers have been with us for a long time, but also some of the new people that are just discovering us as well. So it's, definitely have a lot of sleepless nights. A lot of times I get up in the middle of the night and a new idea comes in my head and I just, jot it down and then, try to hash it out in the morning. But, it's definitely a 24/7 gig, so to speak.
I could imagine that it is. And speaking of scalability, one of the things that Swing Juice has done in their growth is released more options for the women's side. And so tell us a little bit about where we can find on swingjuice.com, a little bit more on the women's side of the apparel line.
Yeah, it's been a fun project that we've worked on. One of the things that, we've all noticed is, over the last several years, not only from a swing juice standpoint, but from a golf standpoint, it's just the growth of the women's game of golf, and more women are getting involved in golf. So on the customer side, we have a lot of women that purchase our product. And again, there's a breakdown. Some are purchasing it for a significant other. A lot of women are purchasing, products from ourselves. A lot of our products have unisex sizing. So, again, our graphics are appealing. And that's like the first thing for me that's, important. Let's create something that's, that would be potentially appealing to, our core customer. So, we started thinking like, why not create just a complete women's line? So it's like, women's cut T-shirts with fun, women's, I guess, graphics that would appeal to a woman. So we kind of created a new section on our site, and we put a number of great new designs up there, and put them on some high quality women's cut tees. And we actually launched it last week at the PGA show, and the response has been tremendous. And again, I think it goes back to trying to constantly create something that our core customer or our core fan would appreciate. So it's fun to see that sort of take off at the moment. And again, it's going to be just another part of our formula to create fun new designs that with the female golfer in mind, and hopefully it resonates out there.
What I also find just fascinating about brands like Swing Juice is just the timeliness of new releases. And, you have a lot of fun T-shirt designs. You got a lot of fun mottos, sayings on your T-shirts, but it almost seems like, a week, you're doing it for the week before a big tournament. Like, for example, we're recording this the week of the Waste Management Phoenix Open, and you've already got T-shirts on your website that coincide with kind of that theme. I'd imagine that there's probably a little bit of a pre-planning to get those designs out right ahead of those big tournaments. And do you also take feedback off of social to quickly turn around a new design, knowing that people are going to just scoop these things up?
Definitely. That's sort of part of, this social media sort of immediate news cycle that we're in and it's fun because when things happen, we can, we're small enough where we can, turn a design around pretty quickly if it's something that's catching fire. A couple of great examples over the, years for us. Last year when Tiger won the Masters, right away in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, well, if Tiger goes on, and this was on like Friday, I was thinking, I'm like, if Tiger wins the Masters, that's going to be a really, big moment in the golf world. As we all know, Tiger sort of is the needle, not just moves the needle, he is the needle in the golf world. So I'm thinking, all right, well, something, if we have to do something if Tiger wins the Masters. So as we're creeping closer it's a Sunday morning, Sunday midday, Sunday afternoon. And it's starting to look like he's going to do it. I had already been texting with our designer and saying, hey, we got to come up with something. So we were kind of hashing around a few ideas, and then finally it popped in my head. This is sort of a historic moment. Tiger is a historic figure, so we put together a design that said history, and it had the number 15 for the I and the S to kind of commemorate his 15th major. And and honestly, the second we put it up there without any promotion, it took off. It was almost like a viral moment for us. We ended up, it ended up being our best seller last year out of all the shirts we sell. We got picked up by a number of golf media. I know you picked up on it.
Yeah, right.
And it was just fantastic. So, it's one of the things that I sort of always try to stay attuned to is, hey, what's going on in the golf world, but also, from just in general sports pop culture, try to do something that's tasteful and that would resonate. And then at the same time, if we can do some pre-planning on event-based, that's the great thing about the golf, the golf world, at least from a professional side. A lot of these events are set in stone, year in advance. So we can plan something around, a different major. For us, the biggest time of the year is before the Masters. We've sort of been, known for our Augusta. We call it the Augusta collection, where we have a lot of, Masters inspired graphic T-shirts, and our fans love them. So we have a new drop actually coming out this coming Super Bowl big game weekend. So check it out. It should be fun.
A lot of good stuff going on. And listeners, the Augusta collection that John is talking about is available on their website. You'll see at the top of the page, swingjuice.com. You'll see that there's a nice little drop down where you can find all the collections. And you've got additional collections. You've got Americana, you've got the Mashup collection, you've got the Swing Juice Classics collection, which I own a couple of those, I'm proud to say, and I love the designs that you have. So what's next for Swing Juice? Obviously you had mentioned scalability, continuing to have more, popular designs hopefully coming out for the T-shirts and other apparel that you offer. What's next, though? Do you feel that not only in terms of size that you're also going to offer new products?
It's all part of the plan. The number of things that we're working on. A lot of it. Some of the things that we're working on that aren't finalized yet have to do with content. We're in the process of creating a new format and platform for us to, revolve around some of our popular designs that, again, I think would be fun for, the end golf consumer, to sort of consume more of our brand, but also too, we're in the process of developing some more elevated gear, stuff that, again, you can, along the lines of what we currently offer, that, you can grab one of these items and you'll be proud to wear it off the course, wherever you go. So, again, we definitely have a lot of things in the hopper here, and it's, like I said, busy and fun time.
Well, you make a lot of fun stuff, John, and listeners, one more time, it's swingjuice.com. You can find John and Swing Juice all over social media at Swing Juice. Thanks so much, sir, for coming on to tell us a little bit about the story behind Swing Juice and about what's next for what is one of golf's most popular T-shirt companies.
I really appreciate it. And I wanted to mention one last thing. Again, I appreciate the time that we've spent, and thank you so much for all the support over the years. And for everybody out there that's listening, I'd like to offer a promo code for you to check us out and kind of give us a shot and tell us what you think. If you go to swingjuice.com and you enter promo code SJFriend20, that's SJFRIEND 20, you get 20% off your order. And check that out, and please reach out to us on all of our social handles. We're at Swing Juice on everything. So at Swing Juice on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. And, again, thank you for your time and appreciate all the support.
Thank you, sir. And listeners, that's very generous of you, John. Thank you for that. Go out to swingjuice.com, find your favorite T-shirt, hoodie, hat, whatever it is. Use promo code SJFriend20 for 20% off. Thank you so much, sir. We'll do this again soon.
Looking forward to it. Talk to you soon. Thank you.